Madeira, Manchester, Madrid, Turin, and Manchester again. Aguero! Goal for South Africa! Goal for all Africa! Roma have risen from their ruins!
Welcome back to the On a Yellow podcast. What episode are we on now? Is this 30?
30.
Is this 30? Episode 30. We've done 30 episodes. Well, I think we've probably done more episodes. Maybe 31, but no. If we go on to like the ones that we've posted on YouTube, we have 30 or so. But it is episode 30. And it is a special episode because the World Cup is in 2 days. It's going to be on Thursday, where Mexico is going to be playing South Africa in the first game in Mexico, and then it's going to be Group A playing, so it would be South Korea also playing as well and against Czechia. Now, I'm excited for the World Cup. Are you, Zach?
Very.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of football to watch. Definitely not going to watch every game because I don't think I can. There's 46 teams in this tournament or 42 teams in this tournament? 46 teams, yeah. 46 teams in this tournament. Probably won't watch every game. No. All right, World Cup talk. So do you wanna start, Zach, with this World Cup extravaganza?
Where did you want to start?
I say we start with the predictions. That's kind of the main thing, and then we move into other parts and aspects of this tournament. I say we're going to go our predictions of the groups, and then we're going to go standout teams or dark horse teams, as I'm kind of calling it. And then we're going to go to individual awards, players, and stuff like that. It's going to be a really neat episode, and for the people listening, it's going to be a really fun episode to listen to because, you know, for the past couple of weeks, we've had things to talk about, like the Champions League final, the DFB Pokal final, and kind of the leagues wrapping up, but we haven't really had anything about the World Cup other than some talks about the Canadian national team. So I think it's going to be really interesting. It's something that we haven't done yet. We haven't really talked about international competition other than AFCON, which we briefly talked about. So it's going to be really neat. All right, with that being said, Zach, let's go right into it. Group A, who do you have? So Group A is going to be South Africa, Czechia, South Korea, and Mexico. Who do you have winning, getting second, getting third, and getting fourth?
I have Mexico topping that group. You know, at home, I think they'll do very well.
Yes.
South Korea in second, South Africa in third, and the Czech Republic in fourth.
So I have kind of similar, but different for 3 and 4. So I have Mexico number 1, South Korea number 2, Czechia getting 3, and South Africa getting 4th. My rationale for that is South Africa haven't gotten out of a group in any of the World Cups that they've been in. And I think, you know, Czechia, they have a team that has some extremely good young players and just talented young players. They got Krejci, who played for Wolves this season, who is a fantastic footballer. And I just think that they could be able to potentially get a result or get less goals scored against them. Because even if they might not get a result against a South Africa, but they tie a South Africa, I think that they can have less goals scored against them than a South Africa.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I just think, they definitely play harder competition regularly.
Exactly.
I just think there's been like a fair amount of turnover in the Czech squad recently. And, you know, Souček was the captain of that team for so long, and now he's not even included in the squad because of the relegation. I think, you know, there's a lot of change that's happened in that team. And, I do like the Czech Republic as a team. I just think that, you know, South Africa,
Yeah.
you know, I think they're a little bit more exciting of a team to watch. I think they'll have a little bit more going on, whereas Czechia will be a little bit more conservative with their style of play. And I think just that might edge out South Africa, maybe even just by goal differential.
Yeah, totally. I think this group, when I was picking this group, it was very difficult for me to pick that 3 and 4 spot. I think I based it off of, European competition, playing against European teams, harder way to get qualified. And I think they are ready for that World Cup. I honestly think like it's going to be a very tight group, that part of the group, especially 3 and 4. It's going to go off a goal differential, in my opinion. I think Czechia and South Africa are going to draw, and then it's going to go down to who can get less goals scored against them. And I think a more conservative side in a Czechia and more of a defensive side could possibly edge out over a South Africa. All right, so, I think for that group, Mexico tops. They're the host nation. I think they're going to be a fairly good team in this World Cup. And, they've tied against Portugal and Belgium in a couple of their friendlies ago. But also, host nations, they tend to do well. Mexico, they've been a juggernaut at home when they've played at home. They look like a very strong team. South Korea, they're undefeated in the Asian qualifiers. They have some very good footballers on their team. Heung-min Son, Hee-chan Hwang, and they've also played in a World Cup in 2022, so they have experience at that level. So I think they're going to get a second in the group there. All right, Group B.
I have Switzerland topping the group.
Yeah.
I think probably winning all 3 games. Not most realistically, I think they win all 3 games. Canada in second, Bosnia third, and Qatar fourth.
Yeah, I have Canada first, Switzerland second, Bosnia third, and Qatar fourth. I think that was merely on vibes, putting them first. I think Canada can get a result against Switzerland. I saw a lot of other people's predictions. They said, Switzerland's winning 2-0, 1-0. I think Canada, with home field advantage, I believe this one will be in Vancouver, I think that we could possibly pull a result. Switzerland, they're an aging team. Their midfield is experienced, but their midfield is 2 guys that are 34 plus years of age, in Granit Xhaka, and I forgot the other guy's name.
Well, they do have young midfielders too.
They do have young midfielders, and they do have a young core in the forward position. But I just think that Canada, with being at home, we're undefeated in our last 8 games. We proved we can win at home. But I think Canada has struggled against tougher opposition. But I think that we can pull a result. Look at the Copa America when we were in these tournaments, in these big tournaments, against, what we would call the Goliath, David versus Goliath situation against Argentina. Maybe we didn't, win against Argentina, but we kept at it and we kept them to a close game. And, Switzerland is no Argentina, in my opinion. I think that we could pull a result against them, whether that is a win or whether that is a draw. I think that we could win against Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we can win against Qatar. What's your thoughts?
I think, Bosnia and Qatar are easier games for us to win. I think, we gained a lot of experience. A lot of the team was at the last World Cup as well.
Yeah.
And, we had a couple pretty good, patches in where we were pretty undefeated, and then, went into the Copa America. And, I think we played pretty well in that in that tournament. And, we didn't lose terribly to, an Argentina team. We lost 2-0 to them in the group stage and then 2-0 again in the semifinal.
Yeah, the semis.
So, it's not like the worst. It's not the best result, obviously. You would want to, get a win against a team like Argentina who won the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
But to only lose 2-0 against a team like Argentina, shows the kind of level that the team's at now, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. I think, with the addition of now Crépeau being our starting goalkeeper, I think that we do have more of a chance. I think Crépeau has shown against tougher opposition that he can be a goalkeeper that you can rely on, especially for the national team. And I think as well, Crepeau, he's only gotten scored on twice since losing 1-0 to Australia.
I did want to put out a kind of an interesting stat.
Yeah.
Since our first game in 2025, we've only lost twice.
Yeah.
Once against Mexico and once against Australia.
Yeah.
Every other game has been either a win or a draw. And I think, sure, there's quite a few draws in there, but there is still a lot of winning that happens for this program. And I think the level that the program is at has now increased dramatically because even, say, 4 years ago at the last World Cup, would you say Canada getting a draw against Ireland would be a good result?
I would have.
And now you're kind of disappointed with that.
Exactly.
Levels how much the program has leveled up recently.
Yeah, we expect more now of our team and of our players. I think, Promise David trying to get more in form throughout this group would be paramount to Canada having a successful tournament. I think Promise David, even though he's been injured and technically not 100%, I think he's been a very dynamic and good player for us and a very good footballer for us. Obviously he technically didn't score, but he came on in his first game back and got a goal, even though it didn't count. But it was still, he didn't know that when he was attacking that ball that it was going to be an offside call. So, I think he has this dynamicness and this strength that we really need. And also this eye for goal. I think, we've struggled with goals. So I think for Canada to top the group, we need to tie against Switzerland and we need to win against the Bosnia and against the Qatar.
As much as I'd love to keep talking about Canada at this World Cup, we should move on to Group C, where I have Brazil topping, Morocco second, Haiti in fourth, and Scotland in third.
Okay. I have, I think I have like this the same. Brazil first, Morocco second, Scotland third, Haiti fourth. I mean, I think, we don't really have to talk about this group in ad nauseum because it's a pretty simple group to kind of understand. I think Brazil tops their group. They have a very strong team. I mean, look at like some of their striking options. Igor Thiago is coming off a 22-goal season for Brentford in the Premier League, and they have a very strong backline as well, with Marquinhos coming off of a Champions League victory and a league victory with PSG. I think they're a very strong team. Now, I think the big question is, will Brazil beat Morocco, or will the game be a tight one where they tie and draw? I think possibly it could be a draw. We know what Morocco can do in a World Cup and in the biggest tournaments for international competition. Obviously, getting second in that crazy final in the AFCON tournament. I think, Brahim Diaz is going to want to really, show his powers a little bit for Morocco. He's going to kind of want to right the wrong of that AFCON final where he missed that Panenka penalty, and he could possibly be an extremely strong player. I think the African teams could have an edge over some teams due to the fact that they played in the AFCON tournament, where they played in a big international competition, with the fairly similar starting 11s that they're going to be applying in the World Cup. I think that they will be I think a lot of the African teams will be really strong in this World Cup.
I agree. I think, it's kind of, it's not necessarily a difficult group. Mm-hmm. I think just trying to figure out, how competitive Haiti and Scotland could be in some of these games, and how many goals can a team like Brazil realistically score in this group.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a pretty cut and dry group when you're trying to make predictions, just based off of world rankings and recent form.
I think Haiti could possibly get a result, maybe against Scotland. Obviously, it's their first ever World Cup is their first ever World Cup?
I think it's their second.
Or their second, but they haven't played in the World Cup for a while. and they're going to really want to get a possible result, and that could be a possible result against a Scotland. And it could be an interesting group to see. Now, Group D. Group D is Paraguay, Australia, USA, and Turkey. Who do you have first, second, third, and fourth?
I have Turkey topping the group,
Yeah.
the States in second, Australia third, and Paraguay in fourth.
Okay, yeah. I have the same. I switched it up. I have Turkey, USA, Australia, Paraguay as well.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me realistically to see Australia maybe jump into second and the third go to the States. I mean, it really depends on if the States can finally kind of find that form. And they've been really poor under Pochettino.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's going to change now all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I mean, they played decent against Germany, but they still lost that game. So, I mean, you can still play good, I guess, but can they get the results when it matters? And they haven't been getting results the way that I think that U.S. soccer fans would think they would be able to with the players that they so highly tout that are on their team.
Exactly. I mean, USA, they're a team that they've had some increase in form and increase with just better talent and players. I mean, they got Christian Pulisic, they got Balogun, they have a strong forward line, but what lacks on their team, in my opinion, is their center backs. Their center backs are two center backs that play in the MLS, and you worry about higher opposition and better opposition. Now, I don't know who's going to be their starting goalkeeper because they might have Turner due to his experience, but Turner, in my opinion, is also going to be a spot to look at as a possible weakness in that in the World Cup. As he's kind of shown against higher and better opposition that he can make mistakes, and that could cost the United States, a win that they really need to make that and cement that second spot. I think it all goes down really to as well Australia. Australia has kind of been a dark horse in a lot of people's minds, just in the World Cup situation. I don't think Australia is that good now than they used to be. I mean, they have some good young players coming through the ranks, but, they don't have a Tim Cahill anymore or a Kuehl anymore. So I don't think necessarily that they're going to be insanely good in the tournament and go extremely far, but I could imagine they could possibly get out of through that third place.
One thing that is interesting about this group is the U.S. has played all the teams in this group fairly recently.
Yeah.
They played Paraguay in November of last year, beat them 2-1. They played Australia in October of last year, and they played Turkey in June of last year. So I think, that could potentially help them. They kind of know their opponents already. They've played these teams fairly recently, and that I'm not sure how much necessarily the teams will be different from those teams they played. And tactically wise, I think it can give them an advantage, but it can also give, the other teams in this group an advantage on the States as well.
Yeah. And I mean, Turkey is absolutely a very strong team. They're a fantastic team to watch. And I think that they're going to be kind of a dark horse in this tournament. A lot of people are quoting this Turkey team as being the golden generation for Turkish stars. And, I can't disagree with that. They have extremely good young talent. Obviously, Arda Güler and also Kenan Yildiz. Those are their two front runners and the two guys that you look at and being like, that is going to be the team. And those are going to be the players in that team that Turkey can utilize in order to get through this group. I think that they're a fantastic team, but I just really think they're a fantastic team. I mean, they found a really good mix of youth and veteran players, which I think is really interesting.
Definitely. I mean, they've been climbing the ranks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of really talented youth players that can mix well with the players that have been to World Cups before, and I think
Yeah.
could give them some very favorable results.
Exactly. They're a strong team coming into this tournament, and it's going to be exciting to see them play. Now we're going to Group E. Group E is Curacao, Ecuador, Ivory Coast, and Germany. What are we thinking?
I have Germany 1, Ecuador 2, Ivory Coast 3, and Curacao 4.
I have Germany first, Ivory Coast second, Ecuador third, and Curacao fourth. Now, my rationale for that difference is Ivory Coast have been known to do pretty well in the World Cup scene. They've obviously had experience playing in the AFCON tournament, so they know what it takes to play in these big international competitions or national competitions for the national teams. And, they have a very strong team, in my opinion, with some very good players coming through. They're number 34 in the world and Ecuador's number 23. I think Ecuador is also a really strong team, but I think that players like Yan Diomande, who has been lethal for his club, like 12 goals and 8 assists, could potentially get some results. And they've had some recent success against great teams like South Korea and France, and I just think that I just think that they could possibly get an edge over an Ecuador.
I mean, I think Ecuador has, one of the best defenses
Yes.
in the world.
Yeah.
They have Pacho
Yeah.
and they have a really talented defense with
And they also have Moise Caicedo.
Hincapié,
Yeah.
Pacho, Caicedo in the midfield,
True.
playing DM. I think they don't have like a bona fide goalkeeper necessarily.
Yeah.
And I think they're a little bit weak on like maybe fullback. I mean, they have Ordonez, who's pretty good,
Yeah.
and Medina might, he's not really a player that has broken out yet. If he's still only 21, I think this could be a big moment in his career if Ecuador
Yeah.
does do well, and I think he can really kind of get that next step in his career too.
Yeah, they do have a very strong team, and I think when picking 2 and 3, it was difficult to see who would get that result. It's basically like I think Curacao, they're a very cool and interesting team in this World Cup, and they're gonna be really interesting to watch. Obviously, being a very small island nation, but I have them last. I mean, they could possibly maybe swing a result, but like this group is extremely difficult, and I think it's gonna be very hard for the Curacao team.
I think they got kind of the worst possible draw for them in
Yeah.
their first ever World Cup.
Yeah,
I mean, I find it hard to see them picking up a single point in this group, maybe a couple goals. I just think the rest of the teams highly outclassed them.
yeah, exactly. Now, Group F. Group F is Sweden, Tunisia, Japan, and the Netherlands.
I have Japan topping this group, the Netherlands second, Sweden third, and Tunisia fourth.
I've just flipped the top 2, so I have Netherlands first, Japan second, Sweden third, and Tunisia fourth. Now, I think Japan, they are a very fantastic team, and they've been very good in the past World Cups, and they're extremely strong. I think at their peak, they were like number 7 in the world, which is just really, really fantastic. I mean, 9?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they were top 10. And I mean, they've had some fantastic footballers that have played for that team. But I just think, they don't have Mitoma, who's been one of their best players on that lineup. And I think that they could possibly struggle a little bit. but struggling not necessarily that much because I have them being second. I just think that the Netherlands are such a strong team, defensively especially. They probably arguably have one of the best defenses in the tournament. They have Van Dijk, they have Van de Ven, they have Ake, they have Van Hecke. They have a ton of people on that lineup that play in the tops of Europe and the top European leagues. And I think that, and also, right back wise, they have Denzel Dumfries. If they're playing a right back role, sometimes he is playing right mid, depending on what they're playing. But, they have a fantastic lineup on that team, and it's going to be really cool, I think, to watch them. I mean, also, like, midfielders as well. They got De Jong and Gravenberch, and then you go to forwards with Gakpo. They're looking like a very good team, and I think that they could get a result over Japan and top the group.
I mean, my reasoning kind of for putting Japan top of the group is, they've had the last couple tournaments, they've always done, historically pretty well. I mean, Blue Lock is alive and well, in my opinion. I think they always have a very set system. They're always very disciplined, and I think they have some of the best conditioning out of any team in the World Cup. I think the way they play the game is kind of fascinating as a national team. I think they don't do it like anybody else does, and I think they have players that I personally rate really highly. Guys like Daisen Maeda, and Takafusa Kubo, and even in goal, Zion Suzuki. Those are three players that I rate incredibly highly, and I think this is the best goalkeeper they've had in a long time. And he wasn't at the last World Cup. I think they've kind of leveled up. Their team is pretty young, in my opinion, and I think can have a good result here and even build further for the next World Cup.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that they're going to get out of the group and possibly have a pretty good tournament. I just think the Netherlands are looking very strong, and I think that they can get the edge over Japan in a game.
I just think that
and score more goals as well.
Kind of got bailed out against Uzbekistan, and that kind of put me off a little bit. Mm-hmm. Well, I do think the Netherlands are going to have a great tournament. I think end up going farther than Japan in the long run. Yeah, I just think that
in a group
recent
stage situation,
results haven't necessarily been that great.
Yeah,
but I think once they kind of get into the mode of the World Cup a little bit more, then they'll be at their best. But I think they might drop a game in this group stage that they didn't want to.
Totally. Group G. So Group G is Iran, New Zealand, Egypt, and Belgium. What are we thinking?
I have Belgium 1, Iran 2, Egypt 3, and New Zealand 4.
All right. I have it similar, but my 2 and 3 are different. I got Belgium first, Egypt second, Iran third, and New Zealand fourth. So I put Egypt above Iran due to, again, like AFCON tournament. I really think that a lot of these African teams are going to do very good in their groups just based on having experience only in November with a big national team tournament. And I think that they're going to do really well. And I just think Egypt have a very big attacking threat, with Salah, with Omar Marmoush. I think that those players are going to get an edge over some of these teams and could possibly get a result against an Iran. And I think, they have players that are playing in the top 5 leagues and are looking very strong. That's kind of my reasoning there.
I mean, I have Iran second. There's not really necessarily a fantastic reason for it. I just think, coming to the States.
I believe they're playing in Mexico now.
No, they're staying in Mexico. They're playing in the States.
Okay.
I think that will add a lot to them.
Possibly.
I think they don't necessarily have any stars on the team. They're kind of, I think, based on roster alone, one of the weakest teams in the entire tournament. But they always pick up results in big tournaments.
They do.
they've historically been incredible in Asian competitions. They beat good teams on the regular, and I think they're kind of a wild card in terms of world football. They don't have a big time player on their team, but they still are consistently, they've been consistently in that top 30 for years now.
Yeah.
And I think it stands testament to the way that their program is run, maybe. I'm not sure exactly what, is generating these results with the players they do have, but I think they're an interesting team and a team to keep a lookout for.
Totally. I mean, New Zealand, Tim Payne. Can Tim Payne swing a result?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, great story. Not a great footballer. I mean, he did basically nothing in their friendlies. He basically caused a goal against Haiti. I don't think he's going to be doing too much. He's probably going to start their games, but I think that's about it. I mean, New Zealand will be one of the most watched teams in the World Cup because of Tim Payne.
Yep.
I just think it's unrealistic to see them doing anything in this tournament.
Last time I checked, he was on like 5.4 million followers on Instagram, which is just absolutely crazy. Group H. Group H has Saudi Arabia, Cape Verde, Uruguay, and Spain. I think this was a pretty easy group in my opinion, but I know we have a difference.
I have Spain topping, Uruguay second, Cape Verde third, and Saudi Arabia fourth.
I have Spain first, Uruguay second, Saudi Arabia third, and Cape Verde fourth. So why the difference, Zach? Why did you pick Cape Verde instead of Saudi Arabia?
I mean, they're kind of another wild card in terms of their roster. I just think that they've had significantly better form and results in their recent games. They've beaten good teams. They beat Serbia 3-0. I mean, Serbia, not a fantastic team by any means.
But they're still a UEFA team.
But, I mean, they've had better results than Saudi Arabia, in my opinion. I think the teams themselves, in terms of, squad value and where those players are playing and all that, are fairly similar.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like Cape Verde has, a little bit of an edge in terms of defense. I think they have Logan Costa, who plays for Villarreal, Wagner Pina, who plays for Trabzonspor, and then a pretty good defensive midfielder too. And I think Saudi Arabia is a little bit weaker in defense, and I think will struggle a little bit more against the Uruguay and Spain matchups. And I think third place will be decided between this one game.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a squeaky win for Cape Verde.
I think, Saudi Arabia, they've been known to beat giants in the World Cup. They beat Argentina last World Cup, and I think that they could possibly swing a result. I agree with you, though. It's going to go down to that game between them because I think Spain and Uruguay are locks for 1 and 2. So it's going to be an interesting group to see. But again, I think
they're both ranked
very
very similarly in the world rankings.
Yes. Saudi Arabia is 61, Cape Verde is 69. So they're very close to each other. I just think that, it's honestly, while doing these predictions, it was extremely hard in some of these groups to find 3 and 4. Because 3 and 4 are very similar. They get very similar amounts of points. It's just basically who beats them or who loses by less goals, basically. So that was, I think it's going to be an interesting group, but I do think Spain and Uruguay get 1 and 2. Group I. This one is kind of been quoted as the group of death in this tournament, and that is France, Senegal, Norway, and Iraq. What do you have for this group?
I have France first, Norway second, Senegal third, and Iraq fourth.
Yeah, that's same.
But I think this group's a little bit different in the terms of third and fourth. I think third is a significantly better team than fourth.
Yeah.
I mean, Senegal could get second. with it being Norway's first World Cup in a long time, but I do think Norway has the team to come into this World Cup and kind of be a little bit of a dark horse and go really far in this tournament.
Yeah, totally. I think France is a lock for first. They're the number one team in the FIFA rankings right now. Norway, I think, they are a dark horse. Yes, they're 31 and Senegal is number 14, but I think, this is the one that FIFA rankings are going to be a little switched. I think Norway is an extremely good team and they're my dark horse. I think they're looking really scary. They got very tall strikers and they have very fast wingers and they have an experienced side in top football moments. They have a lot of Bodo Glimt players that have played in the Champions League knockout stages. They got Martin Ødegaard facilitating in the midfield, and they scored like 37 goals in qualifying or something like that. I think that they could possibly get a result over Senegal.
I mean, just looking at the attacking options they do have, you have Erling Haaland at striker, Strand Larsen at striker, as well as Sorloth at striker. Those are three fantastic options for them to have at striker.
And all of them are 6'4".
Are they?
Yes.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Then you have Nusa on the left wing, Bob on the right wing.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Sorloth who can play wing. I'm not sure how to say his last name.
You have
Andreas Schlordeloop or something like that, who plays left wing as well.
You also have Ødegaard in the midfield, and you have Rierson on your right back. So
I mean, even a guy like Sander Berg who plays for Fulham, he is also 6'4".
Exactly.
In the defensive midfield.
I'll go kind
Their
of more.
defense is massive.
Yeah, I'll kind of go in more into that like later. Should I go more? Actually, wait. Timing wise, I'll probably just go into it now. They're my dark horse. They scored 37 goals, 5 against. They're the only team other than England to win all of their games in the qualifying. They play a 4-4-2. 4-4-2 is extremely defensive, but they have fast counterattack. A fast counterattack is perfect when you have Erling Haaland in the forward position, as well as Nusa playing on the left wing. And it's going to be absolutely fantastic to see these players. I'm pretty sure I counted, actually. If I find my note here, I did count something very cool. Where is it?
Well, while you're finding that, I just want to...
Only 6 people are under 6 feet in that lineup.
One guy that I really like on their team, is kind of a little bit of a unknown player, is Thello Asgard for Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's always kind of putting in kind of surprisingly good performances for Norway recently. I'm pretty sure he scored like a hat trick in one game recently for Norway, and I think he's an interesting player at 24, and I think he could be a player that he's probably not going to start. But I could see him coming on and maybe scoring a big goal in some game.
And making an impact. All right. So we can get all these groups done within this podcast episode. Group J is next, and that's Austria, Jordan, Algeria, and Argentina. 3 nations that start with the letter A in this group.
They start with A and end with A.
Oh, yeah. They start with A and end with A. Group J. What is your predictions?
Argentina first, Algeria second, Austria third, and Jordan fourth.
Yep, I have exactly that.
I think it's a pretty cut and dry group, in my opinion. I mean, Austria could get that second spot. Algeria could go third. I just don't think. I'm not sure why. I just have a feeling that Algeria will do well at this World Cup.
Same. Algeria, they did decent in AFCON, but they're extremely fast-paced and technically gifted side. And I think that against an aging team like an Austria, who have an aging back line and kind of, Denzo's not really, but an aging midfield as well with Sabitzer. I think that a fast counterattacking side could be something that could affect them. And they got a breakout player in Maza on their team, who I think could be a breakout player in the tournament and be a very good player for them. And obviously they have Riyad Mahrez, who is a very good footballer, but he's kind of past his prime. But I still do think that they can get a result against an Austria. I think Jordan, I'm pretty sure this is Jordan's first World Cup. So I think that they're in a very difficult group as well. I think a lot of the first World Cup teams are in extremely difficult groups for them that I don't think they can even swing a result. Just by looking at Jordan's team, I don't think they can swing a result. I mean, they're number 63 in the world, and against an Argentina or an Algeria or an Austria, who are all in the 20s, and of course Argentina is number 3 in the world. I think that they're going to struggle. All right, Group K. Group K is Uzbekistan, the Republic of Democratic Republic of Congo, so DRC, and Colombia. What are we thinking?
I have Portugal first, Colombia second, Uzbekistan third, and Congo fourth.
Okay, yeah. I think the same. So Portugal first, Colombia second, Uzbekistan third, and the DRC fourth.
I do think the DRC has a better roster than Uzbekistan, but Uzbekistan's results, I mean, are significantly better.
Yeah.
They were incredible in World Cup qualifications. They were very dominant in Asia, whereas Congo kind of qualified last possible chance of asking. I mean, they've gotten a lot of players to switch over since then, but I still think that Uzbekistan's form and results and the togetherness that team seems to have will drive them ahead.
Yeah, same. I think Uzbekistan, they have Kushinov, who is a very good young defender, playing his games for Manchester City, but they also have, Shomurodov. Shomurodov scored 22 goals and had 5 assists for Başak Şehir. I believe that's how you say it. It's a very hard team name to pronounce for me. On loan from Roma. So I think that they can get a result. I mean, when they played against Canada, they were fairly good, actually, especially during the first half. And I think that they can pull a result and get that third place.
I mean, I think they were robbed of a draw against the Netherlands. And I think they played really well in that game too, and I think they have a system that works really well for the players they have.
Exactly.
So I think they'll be an interesting team.
Yeah, and Portugal, I number one. They are one team I think can go pretty far in the tournament. I have them getting into the third place game against Spain, I believe, in my bracket. But I just think that Portugal, they're a strong team. Cristiano Ronaldo's last forte. I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo is going to do like a crazy amount. I think they're really going to be, guided by their midfield. Bruno Fernandes, João Neves, and Vitinha, with also center backs of Ruben Dias and Nuno Mendes as well. So I think that they're a fantastic squad, with some fantastic footballers, Rafael Leao as well. So I think that they can pull a result out. Okay, last group before we say who's winning and everything. The last group is Group L, and that is England, Panama, Ghana, and Croatia.
I have England topping the
Mm-hmm.
group, Croatia second, Ghana third, and Panama fourth.
I have England first, Croatia second, Panama third, and Ghana fourth. This was a hard one for 3 and 4, in my opinion.
I just think Ghana, I think they're terribly underranked in terms of
they are
the world,
74th in the world
which
with some fantastic players.
seems kind of crazy. I do think they would do a little bit better if they did have, all of their players healthy. They're kind of struggling with a little bit of an injury thing recently, I believe, where, they're kind of missing a couple players. But I do think that first and second in this group are fairly easy to predict.
Yes.
Barring any dramatics. I think Croatia, they've been to World Cup finals. They've done incredibly well. And I think they'll continue to do well this tournament. And I think England, far and above, is the best team in this group, just based off of the roster alone.
Yeah, no. I think that they're going to top the group, and they could do fairly well, maybe possibly get a clean sheet or two. But I think Panama, they've shown that they can't play well in tournaments, and they have a very experienced side. So I think that they could possibly be the team that can get that third place and get a result against Ghana. But Ghana is also a very strong team. Like, it's a very hard group to kind of understand. All right. So who do you have winning the tournament?
I have France winning.
Okay.
Although, I mean, I wanted to pick the Netherlands. I just think it's unrealistic to pick the Netherlands
Yeah,
to win.
because based
so I
off
have
how your
them second.
bracket went, they got the second, right? Yeah, based off how my bracket went, I have France first and England getting into the final. I think that England are extremely strong team, and I think it's a kind of a different team. You know, Tuchel picked a team that could play together versus not necessarily the best players in that position. And, you know, I think they're going to be a good team to watch. I think how my bracket went, France played against like Spain in the semis, and I had France beating them. I think France are an extremely strong team and are my favorites to win. But I think another thing we could talk about is when is like having so much of the best players, you know, a detriment to your side, where possibly there could be some inner turmoil within the squad and they might not produce the same level as you would expect them to.
I mean, Mbappe has to be feeling some way about PSG and Dembele,
Yes.
having spent a good amount of his career there trying to win, never winning, leaving, and then immediately PSG wins 2 Champions Leagues.
Yeah.
Dembele wins the Ballon d'Or, and if France wins the World Cup and Dembele plays well,
He could
having
possibly
won
win it again.
the Champions League and the World Cup, could he become a 2-time
I think so.
Ballon d'Or winner before Mbappe even has a chance to win one?
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to say that because of how good of a footballer Mbappe is. Will he ever win a Ballon d'Or?
Yeah.
Will he be one of those players that could never get that final step and win that, kind
Yeah.
of like a Harry Kane, who is also in the running for that this year? It's just, sure, they're fantastic players. They should never get the trophies when they mattered the
Yeah.
most.
I agree. Like, I think it's going to be a tale like for France based off of France on paper right now. I have them winning, but you know, you can talk about like stats aside and players aside. You know, if you have so much good players on a team, that could possibly be a detriment to you not being able to produce just because of how much like voices are in the dressing room and how much people want to start games and be that team. But France has shown before having great players that they can win World Cups, and they have. So I think that, you know, only time will tell. Based on paper, though, having Mbappe, Dembele, Desiree Doué, Bradley Barcola, Chouameni, all these top players on their team, as well as Saliba and Maignan, I think that they're going to be the team to beat. So I have them winning. All right, let's go kind of individual awards for the last couple of minutes of this pod. Start with Young Player of the Tournament. So I believe this is under
21.
Under 21. Okay. I have either Yamal or Doué. So Doué is 21 years of age, and he's, I believe, still eligible. Because I believe it's just 21 and below. So
Pick the 2 guys with the highest betting odds.
yeah, Yamal and Doué, in my opinion.
I went with Leonard Karl of Germany. I think he's played really well for Bayern.
Is he injured?
I don't think so. He has the 3rd highest betting odds. I don't think he'd be injured. Maybe slightly before, but I think he'll be healthy
He'll
at
be
the
healthy at
World
the
Cup.
World Cup.
And I think he's kind of broken onto the scene out of nowhere this season and been fantastic. And I think he can definitely keep that form going at the World Cup.
I have Yamal or Doué. So Yamal, if he's healthy and he's playing games, like he is going to miss a couple. But, you know, he scored like a staggering this season, 16 goals and 11 assists. but he hasn't played since he scored a penalty against Celta Vigo, and that was a couple months ago. So, that might be, is he going to be 100%? Is he going to be fit and ready? Potentially. I mean, Lamine Yamal, talent alone could mean he's going to get that young player of the tournament. It's his first World Cup. He wants to do well, and he's shown at the top level at such a young age in the Euros that he can play in national team tournaments, and he can be that player. But he needs to be at the top of his game to get there, right? Desiree Doué, second highest betting odds for this. He's 21 years of age. The only thing I think concerns me, he's a great player. He's done it at the top levels in the Champions League, and he's done really well for that team. And now he's playing with a French team that has some extremely good players, backing him. Possibly he could be that guy, but he's playing left wing versus right wing, and that's a big concern for me. So Desiree Doué, he's extremely one-footed. So, I mean, he is right-footed, so he can cut in. But he plays normally on the right wing, I'm pretty sure, for PSG. So, potentially that could be a slight kind of reason where Yamal would win over him. I think it really just goes down to the teams that they're playing, the moments that they're doing, and the goals that they're scoring, and that could possibly be the player.
Yeah, apparently I missed the news that Leonard Carl got injured on the 5th of June.
Yes. So
Didn't
do you have
realize that.
Do you have another player for young player?
I mean, there's the obvious picks. I mean, how old is Cherky?
I forgot.
Let's see.
I think he's 25 or 24.
Oh, he's 22.
22.
Who else is on Germany that's young? I do think Germany's going to have a decent tournament. Let's see. Who do we got here? I guess I'll switch to Asan Oudrago on Germany. Midfielder. Plays for Leipzig. 20 years old.
You just picking someone different, or is there a reason for this choice?
I mean, I've heard good things about him in the past. He's got good potential on FC.
Well,
He's
there
got
you
to be a
go.
good player.
Now, Golden Boot, I have Harry Kane. How about you?
I have Ferran Torres. Just due to Lamine Yamal being unavailable for the first two matches of the group stage against the easiest teams in the group.
Yeah, and the group as well that they're in.
They'll play Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde without Lamine Yamal, which gives either I think Oyarzabal or Ferran Torres more chance to score more goals.
I have Kane just because of his goal-scoring prowess and just the team that he's on and the group that they're in. I feel like he could get a lot of goals in this tournament. I mean, he has 64 goals in all competitions this season. Like, he is absolutely insane, right? Obviously, trying to get that Ballon d'Or, he's going to want to score goals, and he's known to score goals. It's just, can he get the deliveries? Because he's not playing with Diaz and Elise anymore. He's playing with a Rashford and a Saka, or Rashford and a Nani Madueke, or Gordon and Nani Madueke. Is he going to get that delivery that he needs, right? Potentially not. So I do still have Harry Kane just because of how good of a goal scorer he is. Now, quickly before this podcast ends, I just want to go through the other award, and that is Golden Glove.
I have Emi Martinez winning back-to-back.
I have David Raya, based off of Spain's group.
Do you have a breakout player, a player over 21 that you think could...
Over 21?
Well, I mean, just, if it's young player of the tournament, and I feel like that's a breakout of itself.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of looking for someone who doesn't fit into that age bracket.
I
I have Takafusa Kubo on Japan.
Yeah.
I think he's going to take that next step and be the main man for Japan, and I think get a big move in the summer after the World Cup.
Yeah, I had for my breakout player the 21-year-old Antonio Nusa, just because I think he's going to break out as a young player and be very good in this tournament. But, there's other players I think that could break out. I think, James Rodriguez could possibly have a better tournament than he has had in previous seasons or previous tournaments, especially in 2022. It's his last World Cup. He wants to prove something. And I think, he has been the mainstay in that Colombia team and been their guy. And I think possibly he could just have that last dance and play above his weight right now. And especially with having Luis Diaz on the team and other things. There's other good players on that team, but I think that James Rodriguez could possibly break out, not really break out, but go back to his former self.
And a player I picked that might, in my opinion, will be a flop.
Yeah.
Or could be a flop was Vinny Jr.
For me, mine was Neymar.
That's true. I mean, I think people aren't expecting as much from Neymar as they would be from Vinny.
True. And I think you shouldn't really expect that much from Neymar. Neymar is a fantastic footballer, and he's arguably one of the best footballers of all time. But, for me in a World Cup, he's been injured so much. And I feel like that's going to really affect him. And, they're going to play him. They're going to start him. And I feel like he could possibly be, due to lack of game time, be less than what people are expecting of a Neymar. All right. That being said, Zach, can you do your sign-off, please?
Bonjour, au revoir, and have a great rest of your week.
See you later, guys.